My name is Karen Kohfeld. I'm a professor at Simon Fraser University in the School of Resource and Environmental Management.
And my name is Jennifer Silver, and I'm an associate professor in the geography department at the University of Guelph.
The project is called the Integrated Coastal Acidification Project, and we're interested in looking at the effects of acidification of seawater in coastal communities. The project has about 4 different themes in it. The first part of it is to actually go out into the coastal waters and measure what's going on. So in other words, how can we take measurements that are normally done in the open ocean and bring them down to the beach where people are living and working? And the second part of the project is to look at some of the biological impacts of acidification on species or organisms that are most important to communities. And so these are largely lobster on the east coast and shellfish on the west coast of Canada. And the third part of the project is to then do some work with using those observations and the information we have about how acidification is affecting the organisms to look at some projections and predictions. So where is it that the problems are going to be the largest, and which communities are going to be most vulnerable? And then the fourth part of the project is taking that information and packaging it and communicating it to the communities that are at risk. And actually this is where Jen's part of the research comes in.
Yeah, so I'm a social scientist, and this is a very interdisciplinary project. And the neat thing about working with scientists who are able to tell us about ocean acidification and make some predictions about where it might be strongest and some of the implications for ecosystems and specific species is that there are human dimensions to the ways that those impacts are experienced by people and communities, and those dimensions have to do with economics. Obviously, there are really important economic values to lobster and on the East Coast and different shellfish species that are farmed on the West Coast. And so some specific end users like shellfish farmers or fishers on the East Coast might want to know under different scenarios of change over years ahead how much economic loss there might be. But there are also cultural and social values to these resources and the roles that they play in communities and in broader social networks. So if you imagine, perhaps there was a decline in harvest that people might feel through job loss or just through associated change within the community might feel a certain amount of vulnerability or sort of social loss associated with that. So we're really careful and want to be really careful not to do certainly focus on the economic, but also to think about the social and cultural values that these resources play within the communities where there may be loss or at least change is experienced over the coming years.
So our hope right now is first of all to go into some areas where we haven't actually even measured and understand what's going on. What is the extent of acidification? Where is it happening? And our hope is, I can speak more for the West Coast where I'm situated. Our hope is to actually go in and work with the shellfish operators and point out these are the times of years or the times of day. These are the areas in your shellfish operation region that are most problematic today. And these are the places that are going to create the problems. Our longer term goal is to actually package this information with the observations and the biological information and our modeling efforts to be able to say, where is this problem likely to get worse in the future?
I want to just say for me that I think this topic of ocean acidification is one that's gaining more press and media attention. And along with a suite of other hazards that coastal communities face, this is another thing to kind of add to that bucket. And so on the sort of social science side and thinking about this range of values that species have in communities is to really help to translate what ocean acidification is from this kind of buzzword concept into actual implications and potential implications and responses on the ground.
So we have a lot of people involved in this project. We have about 9 different universities in Canada who are working in the project. So we have researchers from the universities, and then we have a lot of project partners and collaborators from the Fisheries and Oceans Canada who are out there helping with the collection of a lot of the measurements and helping with some of the modeling aspects, and also helping to provide us with some additional data about the socioeconomic conditions in the fisheries. Those are the government partners we have and the academic partners we have, but we also have our industrial partners who are quite important to this project. We're working closely with several shellfish operators who actually take us out in their boats to the places where they think the problems are existing. And they tell us what information it is that they need to know. And we've been forming our experimental program around some of the problems that they're already seeing.